confusion in the PDP. Well, the President Muhammadu Buhari opts to back Victor Giadom's APC acting national chairman decide to attend NEC meeting convened tomorrow. And the parties in Edo PDP ahead of tomorrow's primary agree out of court settlement after Ugbede Hiyama went to court, perhaps a relief for the PDP ahead of tomorrow's election. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. It's a 1 hour stretch of the program tonight and we're bringing you some of the top stories that we're following for you tonight as far as Nigeria's politics is concerned. First and foremost, let's get you started with some of the stories of election. The African Action Congress, AAC in Edo State, has held its governorship primary at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City with Edith Isokpan emerging as a party's governorship candidate. According to the state chairman of the AAC, Fislawa, the party adopted direct mode of election with 238 delegates present and stakeholders making up a total of 250 people.
I'm very much prepared. Like I said before, it's God that sent me. I'm not selling the ticket to any party. So I'm a woman of integrity. I'm out to save, I'm out to help my people to get back their treasure.
Yeah, this is politics. Anything is possible in politics. So she did her homework. She had the support of the greater delegates and she won. So this is politics, no hard feelings about it.
We from the African National Congress, we like due processes, and this is what we've come to display here today. This election is one of the freest and most credible elections in recent time in Edo State, and I believe we've made a mark, and history has been made today.
Congratulations to Ms. Isokpan for emerging as a candidate ahead of the governorship election in the state on September the 19th. Before we get down to our discussion of tonight, tomorrow is PDP's governorship primary. It does look like they have their crisis resolved, but have they really? We dig into that matter tonight, but our major focus tonight is what has come, perhaps as a surprise to a lot of people, the decision of President Muhammadu Buhari to back Mr. Victor Giadom. We've spoken to Mr. Giadom. The decision of the president is known. Tonight we will dissect and give you all the perspectives to the matter. So stick around with me tonight on the program. But first, let's check out our political roundup tonight.
It's Wednesday, and President Muhammadu Buhari today presided over the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. It was a hybrid meeting as it has been in the past weeks, as some cabinet members were physically present while others participated virtually. The House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts is summoning the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture to appear unfailingly on Thursday, the 25th of June 2020. The committee chairman says the Permanent Secretary had been invited to defend a query of the Auditor General of the Federation but failed to honor the invitation. According to him, there are issues raised by the Auditor General of the Federation over the finances of the ministry which must be addressed.
And for such citizen to ignore the invitation of the Parliament is an indication that such a person is incompetent to man such office.
All members of the Kaduna State House of Assembly and staff are to undergo a compulsory coronavirus test with immediate effect. This is according to a directive by the Speaker of the Assembly, Mr. Yusuf Zailani, after a staff of the Assembly tested positive for the deadly coronavirus. The Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Health, Ali Khalat, who briefed journalists on behalf of the Speaker, said the compulsory test is to ensure that no other members or workers are infected.
Thank you, everyone. We'll make a stop in Edo State to check what is happening ahead of tomorrow's governorship primary of the People's Democratic Party. The APC perhaps has held theirs with Pastor Osage Izeyamo imagined as a candidate. But today, the Federal High Court, sitting in Port Harcourt, struck out the suit filed by Mr. Omorege Ogbede-Ihiama, who spoke to us on the program yesterday, over the grievances he has about the process to stop Governor Godwin Obaseki from participating in Thursday's PDP governorship primaries in Edo State. A counsel to the plaintiff, Mr. Dengwe, had in an oral application during resumption of the hearing earlier today informed the court that the parties in the suit had resolved the matter. He said their clients have settled and have directed their counsels to withdraw the case. What then happens tomorrow? What is the fate of Godwin Obaseki? I mean, some of you probably have followed what the governor of River State said when he tweeted, and perhaps what has come out of the decision of the NWC of the PDP. Today, the NWC dissolved the South-South Caretaker Committee headed by Emmanuel Ogidi, and since reconstituted the South-South Caretaker Committee. This, a lot of people have said, is part of the means and the modalities in resolving the crisis that has been generated since Governor Godwin Obaseki entered into the PDP. So the man, guess who is now the chairman of the reconstituted South-South Caretaker Committee, which Edo State is under, is the former chairman of the PDP, Mr. Dan Obi. Let's get to talk about this ahead of tomorrow. I have joining me the man who perhaps will be holding hands with his principal tomorrow is the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shuaibu. He joins us from Benin City. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight on the program. Let me begin by saying and clearing the air for a lot of people who are thinking that perhaps in all of the crises, one of the issues that came up is whether or not you will be on the ballot with your principal should he get a ticket. Are you with him? Is he getting you along?
For the leadership of the party and the governor to take. What we are concerned about today is the primaries for electing the governor to be the candidate of PDP. And after that, that is where the issue of the deputy governor will come in. The deputy governor does not contest for primaries. It's the governor that contests for primaries. And after that, the party will sit down to decide who runs with the governor. So I think it's like trying to, we hurry slowly. So first thing first. First thing is tomorrow's primaries for the governor, and all of us are in it with him tomorrow. And after that, the issue of who runs with him will follow.
We understand that because Mr. Ikena last week said he was stepping down. That's Gideon Ikena. He said he was stepping down for the governor. And now we have Mr. Omorege Ogbede-Ihiama. As he stepped down, what have you heard?
There were issues, obviously. You see, we joined PDP just a week ago or recently, and obviously there are people that we met in PDP, and we also met aspirants that were interested in contesting for this position of the governor. And my former colleague in House of Rep, Ogbede-Ihiama, is one of them. And the governor joining the PDP and also to contest for the same position give an ample opportunity for PDP to have 4 aspirants. And one of them, Gideon, stepped down for Mr. Governor. And discussions have been on for us to have the sitting governor. He has an edge. And this governor is one governor that is popular. And this governor is one governor that everybody in Edo State wants him to come back and continue the good work he's doing. But don't forget that this aspirant, the governor did not take it for granted. He went around to meet with them and seek for their support. And I'm happy that what is critical and one common denominator among the aspirant is the development of Edo State. And they are all interested in the people. They are interested in the progress of Edo State. And the governor did not take them for granted. He went seeking for their support because they have been there, they have been here in PDP, and they have kept the party going. So we cannot just overlook
Deputy
their
Governor,
contribution to the party.
sorry, apologies if I may butt in quickly. Are you aware whether or not the governor has reached out to, for example, Mr. Kenneth Imasuagbo, who was on this show yesterday, and he said he's not going to back down and he's going to fight what he has counted as injustice in the party to the very end, up to Supreme Court?
Everybody has a right to contest, like I said. But one thing I found in PDP, I'm just a newcomer to PDP. One thing I found among the leadership, they have a way of quickly resolving issues. They have a way of rallying around each other to resolve little issues that can snowball into big ones. And since we came in, that is one major thing I've observed. And what I've seen in them is completely different from where I'm coming from. Kennedy Masagbon, that I know, is a very good man. He's a man that also understands politics, and is a man that I know will not want he wants PDP to win, and he's somebody that listens to the majority of the people. So if the majority of the people speak to him to support Mr. Governor, I can tell you that he will not need to even go to court. He will not even need to get to lower court to even say he's going to Supreme Court. But I can tell you that the family of PDP that I've seen these few days that I've been here is one family that know how to resolve disagreement. And I can tell you that this disagreement will be resolved even before tomorrow. But
another issue is what has come out as the out-of-court settlement. Can you tell us what are the agreements that you've had?
Shewan, all I know is that there were discussions and family members met in a family meeting and all issues were resolved, and the ones that are yet to be resolved, talk is still on to resolve them. I can authoritatively tell you that before tomorrow morning, you will get to hear what the family have resolved totally. I will not want to preempt you of the entire things that have been resolved. What is going on in the media, the one I can confirm to you is that the court in Port Harcourt strike out, which you are already aware, that is for the media. The other family discussion, everything will be made known by tomorrow morning because discussions are still on. And I can assure you that this PDP that I have seen, I'm seeing a completely different group of persons that know how to resolve issues before it becomes big.
Deputy Governor, you've been speaking about the PDP. Quickly, do you feel much at home in the PDP? Better than the APC?
You see, so let me tell you, I don't want to compare two parties. I know why I want to compare. I labored to build APC. I am one of my mission statement for grace groups led to the ACD that became AC and ACN that now become APC. So if I look back, I'm seeing something I labored for. I'm leaving what I labored for to another party. It's not something that I should be happy about. But what I'm happy about for joining PDP is that I am helping to consolidate and make history, godfatherism in Edo State. And that is the sacrifice I have to pay to leave the house I helped to build to another party, not because I'm interested in moving, but because one man decided to be a dictator. And because of that, and he's a beneficiary of Commonwealth. And after benefiting from Commonwealth, he decided to be a dictator. I have no problem with APC, but I have serious problem with Comrade Adams Ali Oshomole that became a dictator. So it's not about APC. It's about and that leadership is what that leadership that was lacking, that Comrade could not give to APC is what I'm seeing in PDP. I'm seeing leadership coming to resolve the issue before it become out of hand.
So let me quickly ask you, because of our time, on the issue of the primary tomorrow. Do you see Governor Obaseki getting the ticket?
By the grace of God. I believe in God. I believe I'm a Catholic, a devoted one. I kneel down to pray to God, and Mother Mary has never disappointed me. All of us in Edo State, even the street men, the market women, everybody wants Obaseki. And I can tell you, by the grace of God, tomorrow Obaseki, by the grace of God, will emerge as PDP candidate.
So,
because
let me ask you, perhaps this might be a tough one for you, but it's going to be it's perhaps a frank one, a conversation that we should have, because I know when you went into the House of Rep, because before you became the deputy governor, the big question here, Mr. Deputy Governor, is the fact that you go into this race. Should you lose out at the governorship election, would you go back to the APC?
Shehu, I can tell you that we are not going to lose, because God is with us. And if politics is all about resolve for politics and done, then we are not going to lose, because God is with us and the people are with us. Politics are about the people. And when the people speak, God has spoken. I can tell you, Shehu, that the popularity of the governor on the street of Edo is unimaginable. And if that translates to voting, I can tell you that we are not going to lose. And the issue of APC and PDP, I don't have record of jumping party to party, and that's why I told you the major sacrifice I made for making history, the issue of godfatherism in Edo State, is to leave a party I have to build to PDP. It's my first time, but what I can tell you, Shehu, is that by the grace of God, this Governor Godwin Obaseki, will emerge by the grace of God come September 19 as the governor of Edo State, because his record is clear. Oshomole
because we need to, just a moment, you've not answered my question, Deputy Governor, is the fact that should you lose, and this is unpopular, should you lose, would you go back to the APC? Would you consider that?
Not yet.
Did you hear me? Let me come back with that question. I was saying that you've still not told us whether or not what your decision will be, because it's a contest. It's either you win or you lose. Should you lose, would you go back to the APC? All right. I guess we lost the connection there with the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shuaibu. Thank you so much for your thoughts there. We'll take a break. But when we come back, my panel is ready. I already spoke with Mr. Victor Giadom, the acting deputy national chairman, national chairman of the party, factional one. We may say in this sense to be safer on that matter. We will hear from him and analyze and dissect for you the decision of President Muhammadu Buhari. Don't go anywhere. We've just got started. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get to our major conversation for tonight. So President Muhammadu Buhari has backed Victor Giadom, the Deputy National Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, who says he's the acting national chairman of the party. For a series of tweets from Mr. Giadom, the spokesperson of the president, disclosed that the State House correspondent earlier today that the president will attend the National Executive Committee NEC meeting of the APC, which Mr. Giadom fixed for tomorrow. The president, according to him, has received very convincing advice on the position of the law as far as the situation in the party is concerned, and has determined that the law is on the side of Victor Giadom as acting national chairman, because he will always act in accordance with the law The president will be attending a virtual meeting Giadom called for tomorrow afternoon. So when the news broke, when we heard from the presidency about the decision of the president, the first thing we did was to call Mr. Giadom, whether or not his position on what the president has said. And this is some of his reactions to it.
Well, I don't speak for the presidency, but the president, as the leader of the party, has been invited to our next meeting tomorrow, and we expect that he will attend the meeting.
So at that meeting, what will be the agenda?
First, the agenda is to look at the ongoing crisis in the party and find solutions to them. And I'll repeat and inform you again that my position is very clear. The National Working Committee cannot resolve the present situation in our party. The higher organ of the party, which is the National Executive Committee of the party, NEC, has the responsibility to wade into this situation that we find ourselves. And I'm worried at some of my colleagues who do not want to surrender the situation that we find ourselves to a higher organ of the party that can find solution for all of us. And therefore, I want to advise everybody and my colleagues and the entire NEC members to obey themselves with the Zoom code that has been circulated to them and attend the meeting as scheduled.
Is it also part of the agenda to dissolve the NWC?
Well, I don't speak for NEC. NEC will decide. I'm not aware that there's any intention to dissolve the National Working Committee. That is not before me. That is why it is the meeting, the collective decision of the entire NEC would prevail at the end of the day. And I will stand by the decision of NEC.
Well, which other of your the party leaders have you invited? Is this does this cut across board?
Every member of NEC has been invited. And I challenge anybody who has not been given invitation to please call me and I will send invitation to him or she.
You mean is it that the member of the NWC are also invited? Mr. Ilya Deta and the rest?
Every member of NEC has been invited. And I repeat, any member that has not seen the invitation letter should please call on me. And I can assure him that the invitation letter will be given to him.
Is the party leader, Bola Tinubu, a member of NEC?
The constitution of our party is very clear. You can revert back to the constitution and you will know who NEC.
But I don't know if you have extended invitation to him. Have you, sir?
That's what I've said. The constitution is very clear. The membership of NEC is statutory, so you can revert back to the constitution and find out who are members of NEC. So it's not for me to read out our people who are members of NEC. So that's enough for you.
So, sir, on a final note, what would you be suggesting on the way forward to resolving all of this crisis?
So the way forward to resolving all this crisis is to attend the NEC meeting. The NEC meeting will provide solution for all the problems that we have passed through for the past few months. If we don't allow NEC to prevail, which is their statutory responsibility given to them by the constitution of the party, then we will remain in the situation that we find ourselves. I want to appeal to everybody that the solution to this problem is to have the NEC meeting and to ensure that every member of the party who is a statutory member of NEC is given the opportunity to be part of this meeting. And we have so invited everybody.
So that is the man that has convened the NEC meeting. Remember the one he convened in March earlier this year did not hold. But this time around, the president said he will attend. Let's get to the conversation. I have joining me tonight on the program a chieftain of the APC, a former lawmaker, Mr. Cletus Obon, in the middle right there in our Abuja studio. And on the other side is Mr. Wale Afolabi, is a lawyer to Mr. Giadom, who was also on the program a few days ago, and we're bringing him back on this same matter. Mr. Giadom was also here. So we continue with the conversation as the case may be, because it's developing. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight on the program. So when the president, probably I should begin the conversation with Mr. Wole Afolabi. When the president said the law is on the side of Mr. Giadom, is it on the basis of the fact that he was the first person who obtained a court order, or what, on what basis?
Thank you very much, Mr. Okumbaloye. Thank you for having me. Yes, the president, as has been said, has access to a number of sharp legal minds that could advise him on the right step to take, and we are happy that he has done so. He has an attorney general who's a senior advocate of Nigeria, a vice president who's the senior advocate of Nigeria, and at least 2 members of his cabinet who are also senior advocates of Nigeria. So they have given him wise counsel, and we are happy that he has taken the very wise counsel that he was provided with. Yes, what happened was, it's a combination of what the Constitution, the APC Constitution provides, and what the court interpreted the Constitution to reflect. Simply stated, the APC Constitution states that in the absence of a national chairman, the highest ranking party official, so properly seated from the same zone as the chairman, will take over from the chairman who is a national chairman who is not available. Now, that was the situation that we found ourselves. The party found itself on March 4th of this year, when what began as a situation way back in Mr. Oshomole's ward snowballed into a national issue when he was said to have been suspended, and he did not appeal the suspension. And some members of the party took him to court that you cannot be the national chairman of our party if your membership right is not in order. And they brought an application for interlocutory injunction restraining him from acting as the national chairman, and the court upheld the submission and granted the injunction. The first applicant in that case, Mr. Shomole, he was dissatisfied. He appealed to the Supreme Court, challenging the decision of the lower court. He actually filed 2 appeals. Last week, the Court of Appeal had the opportunity to review the appeal before it, and the Court of Appeal found that the appeal was lacking in merit, that the lower court was right, and that he stood suspended as chairman of the national chairman of the party. So the next thing to do was to look at who was next. Now, at that particular time, the offices of the deputy national chairman, both north and south, and the national secretary were vacant. The deputy national chairman south had resigned his position upon his appointment as a member of the cabinet, and the national secretary had resigned to contest election in Yobe State, which he won. Now, the next in line, based on the hierarchy as stipulated in the constitution of the APC, was Chief Victor Giadom. And Chief Victor Giadom did not just rely on his own or his lawyer's interpretations of what the APC constitution says. He went to court because, as you very well know, I mean, nature abhors a vacuum. There has to be someone to steer the ship of leadership. He approached the court, and the court granted the order, looked at it, and interpreted it. Yes, for the time being, you have satisfied me that you are the person who should be running the affairs of the APC.
All right.
For the time being. So yeah. It's a combination of what the Constitution provides and the way the court interpreted it to be, and it was the first in line.
Okay.
Some other decisions, they are bogus, because a court of coordinated jurisdiction cannot, as we all know, cannot sit as an appellate court over the decision of court of...
Mr. Afolabi, let's bring other members of the panel to the conversation. Let's allow Mr. Cletus Obun to get into the conversation. Let me first and foremost allow you to react to what Mr. Afolabi has said and what to make of the president's decision of today.
Well, let me start from the court matters, which are the foundation upon which maybe, I say maybe cautiously, on account of the fact that I do not want to subscribe to the fact that the presidency and the president have been blackmailed with legalism into accepting to attend a meeting which is ab initio illegal. The reason is because three things have happened. The court order they are referring to has been variously, in fact and in law, does not exist. It died more than 90 days ago. And like he admitted, it is an interlocutory order which has 7 days and 7 days renewable. I do not know any court on which law permits that a court can, even Jesus, who resurrected Lazarus still died, he is not alive. That court order died after 14 days. If there must be an extension, there have to be a fresh application. Assuming without conceding that it is renewable, it is the applicant that through his lawyers can reapply. The applicant in that matter is in court to refute the fact that he never asked for extension. In the entire of that sheet containing the order, the name of Giadom is not there. Being a beneficiary, and for whom the applicant in the first place went to court, he never requested to be joined. And non-joinder in this matter is completely very, very fundamental. Thirdly, the parties in that matter who were involved have insisted that they have not been served up to this moment as we speak. Or have they again gone surreptitiously as usual to acquire service through substitution unknown to the affected parties? If that is so, again, the law will not be on their side. The third factor I want to raise here is that by whatever configuration, given the hierarchy of our party, the next in line from that zone could never have been a deputy, and at this point, acting national secretary. It couldn't have ever been when there is a vice chairman of that zone. I do not know how this comes about. I have read the party constitution when these matters came up. And I said, in any case, the vice chairman may have been suffering from leeches because he slept over his rights when that matter first came up. Otherwise, there is no reason why a deputy, as acting, can then, let's assume that he even takes the entire powers of the secretary. He rightly quoted it, that it is that man from that zone that ought to take. The highest officer in that zone could never have been a deputy, acting as acting national secretary at that point in time. Having laid this bare, I want to ask, is it that the constitution of the party was followed when we talk about the constitutionality of entire thing? The constitution of APC, in the summoning of meetings, especially even if they are emergency meetings, the shortest period of notice is 7 days. We are having the letter asking for this meeting dated 23rd of this month. 23rd was 2 days ago, so it was 48 hours notice. Does it follow our constitution? The other thing I want to say about the presidency and the president and the blackmail that I said he should not be subjected to is that, is it a coincidence that the forces that asked that the national chairman should be suspended on account of what happened in his ward, and the national chairman has accepted and said he accepts the judgment of the appeal court in good faith. Having abated, does that interlocutory order, which has not been resurrected and which is being denied by the applicant, can it still subsist? If we say that we must go to court to first of all vacate it, is it that anybody can ambush the party or any organization and be rewarded with it? I want to make this point clear. Neither Ogunabali, nor Ebropabi or Orwakashi of my place, or nor the implacable gods of the Greeks can ever accept that ingratitude and treachery should be rewarded in the manner in which we are about to get involved. That is to say that if this meeting takes place, what that amounts to is that we are saying that APC is not ready for elections in Edo State and that all the candidates, and indeed whatever has happened, should be dropped. If a man gets to that level, like the woman in the Bible who said they should divide the child and give her her own side, knowing that that will amount to the death of the child, will this president, who has toiled so hard to keep a party, and those around him believe that the rest of us who fought for democracy, fought for this party from the foundation as ACN state chairman and others, come to agree that those who are benefited want to break the pot,
all right,
so that the rest of us
Mr.
don't
Obun,
put the ladder for them to go up.
Mr. Obun, yeah,
This
just
is
a
what we
moment.
are.
Mr. Obun, just a moment. You raised a very critical point. Before I bring in Mr. Giadom to analyze for us, because his own side of it is to give us the political perspective to what this means politically, of course. Let me read to the Article 25 of the Constitution of the APC. I'll read it to Mr. Afolabi, and I want him to react to it, which says that without Article 25B2, which says, without prejudice to Article 25B1 of this Constitution, the National Working Committee may summon an emergency National Executive Committee meeting at any time, provided that at least 7 days notice of the meeting shall be given to all those entitled to attend. The power to summon the NEC meeting has been given, an emergency NEC meeting has been given to the National Working Committee, NWC. In this sense, I wanted to know how many people are with Mr. Giadom. Is this particular section, has it been satisfied?
Thank you very much. Yes, there is the section that you quoted related to the National Working Committee summoning a meeting. There is a subsection, the one just before the two that you read out, that empowers the national chairman of APC to summon the NEC. And it was in reliance upon that Chief Victor Giadom summoned the NEC. He was not, the NEC was not summoned by NWC, no. It was summoned by the chairman.
No, okay, so let me read it for the benefit of our viewers. You said the national chairman has the power to do that, even without the NWC. That section says, the National Executive Committee shall meet every quarter and or at any time decided by the national chairman or at the request made in writing by at least 2/3 of the members of the NEC, provided that not less than 14 days notice is given for the meeting to be summoned. So there is a provisor there of the duration of the time which this notice must be provided. Has that been satisfied too?
Right. I mean, my reading of the Constitution, as it were, says that the national chairman, that he can, at every quarter or at any time, he can do it at any time. That's what it says. And then when it talks about the National Working Committee, that's when
Mr. Afolabi agreed, he said at any time,
he
said provided that not less than 14 days notice given to the meeting to be summoned. There is a provisor of when it can be summoned, the duration of timing. So that's what I'm asking. Was that been followed or is that been followed?
Well,
is the section that you refer to that I'm reading out? Let me allow you to digest it for a moment.
There's compliance with the provisions of the Constitution, as far as I know. There's full compliance. They comply with the Constitution.
But you just raised it and I read it back to you, and I'm asking if that was followed. You said in the subsection 1, and I read it out, that the national chairman has the power, yes, but it has provided that not less than 14 days notice to be given for the meeting to be summoned. And I'm asking, was that followed? The 14 days?
Well, my take is somewhat different, because it says decided by the national chairman or at the request made in writing by at least 2/3 of the members of the National Executive Committee. Now, this is, as far as I know, this qualifies a request that was made by 2/3 of the members of the National Executive Council. This is different from the earlier provision, which empowers the national chairman to call the meeting of the NEC at any time, as decided by him. That's what
it's the same sentence, and it's English language. And when it's attached with Mr. Afolabi, so that we don't confuse our viewers, he said there's a proviso on that. It's a single sentence in that section, and which says 14 days notice. But we go on a break. Let's digest it. And when we come back, I will allow the other guests on the panel to talk about it, especially Mr. Giadom. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk more. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation. I have Mr. Wale Afolabi, a lawyer, Mr. Cletus Obun, APC chieftain and former lawmaker, and Mr. Giadom, a political analyst. All of them are in our Abuja studio, and they are panelists on the program tonight. Let me go to Mr. Giadom to give us a sense of, politically speaking, what this means, the decision of President Buhari. Mr. Ojo, it's good to see you again. What do you make of the president's decision? Do you think this will effectively quench the fire that is ravaging the house of the APC?
It can never be. This is even stoking the fire. And the reason why I said it's stoking the fire is that, recall that APC Edo had on the 23rd, which was yesterday or thereabout, yes, on the 22nd rather, 2 days ago, held a party primary where Mr. Victor Giadom had already written to INEC to say that that party primary is an illegality. So if at this point you are validating his acting national chairmanship, and he had already written to INEC to say discontinuance whatever has happened on June 22nd, that is a nullity, is an illegality. That means Pastor Osage Yamu's victory is standing on a shaky footing, because the opposition party will go to court and say APC does not have a candidate yet. Unfortunately, they have very limited time within which to submit the name of the party nominee. I think by 29th, all political parties are fielding candidates in Edo, September 19, 2020 election, must submit the list of their candidates. So if by tomorrow there is a NEC meeting that validates what Chief Victor Giadom has done on Monday, writing to INEC to say the party primary was an illegality, that means that APC will have to, within the limited time available to them, organize another party primary. Possibly we'll have to constitute a new committee to go and organize another party primary in Edo. Do they have the luxury of that time? So I think there is more to this than meeting the eye. But I'm not a member of any of the political parties. I just want them to know that Nigerians are tired of these shenanigans going on in many of our political parties. These are issues that ordinarily should have been resolved long before now. You had the former deputy, the deputy governor of Edo State who spoke earlier, saying that the party that they just joined has a way of resolving issues quickly before it snowballed. That is an indictment on APC. APC is the ruling party. Why can't they do the
Mr. Giadom, sorry, apologies. I want to ask this question based on what you have analyzed tonight. Based on what you have analyzed tonight. The president is the #1 leader of the party as an elected official of the APC. Now, does the court case or the different court cases, does it give him any chance anyways? Does it make him any better because of the situation of things? Because he said his lawyers have advised him that the law is on the side of Giadom. He's in a tough situation, isn't it?
The president is actually in a very, very tough situation. Not being a lawyer, I read the press statement issued by Malam Garba Shehu to the effect that he has received convincing legal opinion. Well, I concede to the president that he has a team of lieutenants who are well grounded in jurisprudence, in law, and all of that. But I'm looking at the politics of all of this. Recall that APC got its fingers burnt in Rivers, in Zamfara, in Bayelsa. From having 24 states under its control, APC is down to 18 after the general elections, which means that the fortune of APC is diminishing. And it should worry the party. Why should a ruling party not be able to do some necessary housekeeping? What is the party conflict resolution mechanism, why is it being jettisoned? There is a BOT, Board of Trustees of the party, before you talk of NEC, before you talk of NWC. And why is it that Chief Victor Giadom, singularly, without recourse to the National Working Committee, wrote to INEC to say that INEC should discountenance the party primary the party has just held? Can a tree make a forest? Like I said, I'm not a politician. But we need to be mindful of the sequence of events, because this may later on haunt the party, even if it eventually wins in Edo on September 19. Because people will reference that letter that has been written to INEC to say, look, this container, unless they are going to organize a fresh primary between now and the time that INEC has given them to submit the list of their party nominee. And I think, given the fact that today is 24th of June, and they have barely 5 days or 4 days, including weekend, within which to do the needful, conduct another fresh party primary, and forward the name of whoever is the winner to INEC. That luxury of time is what I want them to look at.
So, yeah.
And whether they can convince all the parties that have cases in court to withdraw it and allow the party machinery to resolve the lingering crisis, I think it will be better for APC.
So let me bring back Mr. Cletus Obun, because as the case may be now, tomorrow, the plan is to resolve the crisis in the party. Do you see that the crisis could be resolved when it is being tabled before President Muhammadu Buhari tomorrow?
Yes, indeed. I do not imagine that the president will subject himself to dealing with a fractious neck that is going to be about to bring about a turbulent meeting. I expect that to see in that meeting, instead of neck, I expected that the president will call Clement Ebre of Cross River State, will call His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, his Minister of Niger Delta, will call Rotimi Amechi, will call Timi Priye Silva from Rivers, from Bayelsa, will call Oyegu from Edo, will call Omo Agege from Delta. Bring such other leaders as will resolve the mutiny. Let South not become a land that devours its inhabitants. Let it not be said that Ekabo, the spirit of APC and democracy and progressivism, has departed from the South, which in the first place has kept the unity of this country and feeds this country, is the nerve center of this country's economy. It is a big disgrace to us in the South. And I want to say that the president tomorrow may decide that Giadom himself should use his own hand and take off himself. Like my brother here observed, what we are saying is that we don't want a governor in Edo State. That is the meaning of what we are saying if we insist on legality. No political party or political organization can resolve the issue in the court. Once the courts begin to jump into the arena to resolve matters in Nigerian politics, judges themselves are going to be rubbed with that same mud. And I do think already Obaseki has gone to court to insist that the judge in Rivers State was against him. APC is going to take more to NJC. And once the judiciary and the legislature, which are the beacons of democracy, are affected, the executive will always be there, either as soldiers or as civilians.
Mr. Cletus Obun, sorry.
And the parliament.
Yeah. So, Mr. Cletus Obun, let me get this. Let me get this as perhaps your final word on the program, and in 20 seconds, because I need to do the same to other panelists. In 20 seconds, what is your greatest fears? Because what we are hearing is that the NWC might be dissolved tomorrow. Do you think so? In 20 seconds.
Nobody, of course, once you say the party constitution, the method of dissolving an organ of the party is enshrined in our constitution. Giadom may be wanting to capture the headlines. He may end up tomorrow occupying the footnotes of our political history. I want to say this, that to say that it is better to be a king in hell than to be a servant in heaven is one of the mantras that will ever kill a political man. And this tomorrow is going to take that decision.
Mr. Cletus Obun, let's allow Mr. Afolabi. Mr. Afolabi, your final word on the program on how you see this panning out at the end of the day. You think that National Executive Committee meeting tomorrow will be one that will put an end to APC crisis? In 30 seconds.
Let me quickly revisit the issue of notice. Out of abundance of caution, notices were issued to members who were entitled to attend the NEC in March. It was the president that postponed the meeting of the NEC. And what happened was, it was essentially a pause that was placed on it, and now, waiting for the various litigation, the various cases to be resolved. And now that the cases have been resolved, the pause has been lifted, and as such, more than 90 days notice have been given in abundance of caution to all the expected participants. Now, going back to your question, I sincerely hope, as a Nigerian, that the issues will be fairly resolved tomorrow, because the party needs to come together, but at the same time, the rule of law has to be followed.
We need to close the program, and we'll give Mr. Giadom the opportunity to give us the parting words. Just in about 30 or 40 seconds, Mr. Giadom, how do you see this panning out? You've experienced a lot of how politicking is being done in Nigeria. This one, would it be a different one tomorrow? Do you perceive so?
I wish it were going to be positively different. And I guess my parting word would be, let the next meeting hold, given the interpretation of Mr. Falabi, if it's legally admissible that a notice that was issued in March can subsist till June. If that works in law, let all the necessary invitee members of the NEC attend the meeting with a mind to resolve the issue. Resolve the issue out of court, because court would be a very Israelite journey for them to resolve. Look at how long it took PDP. Over 3 years, PDP was embroiled in leadership crisis before Supreme Court eventually laid it to rest ahead of 2019 elections. And APC is treading the same path of dishonor and very part of Arakiri. But I hope that as a leading, ruling party of Nigeria, I believe they can do better. And with the president in attendance, with good sense prevailing, all the people of goodwill within the party should come with a mindset tomorrow to resolve this lingering crisis. It has painted Nigeria in a bad light.
Mr. Ojo, we need to go now because of our time. Mr. Giadom, thank you for coming tonight. Mr. Cletus Obun, thank you for your thoughts. And Mr. Wole Afolabi, gentlemen, it's indeed a pleasure having you around. But that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. Bye-bye.